The week begins with news of the United States South Korean ambassador's attacker being sentenced, DNA evidence in Thailand called into question as the Prime Minister shows his true colors, and the hunt begins for a suspect in India responsible for that nation's deadly explosion over the weekend. These stories are coming up next. This is the Asia Brief. A very good Monday morning to you, my friends. This is Steve Miller on this September 14th, 2015. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's go ahead and begin with South Korea. Kim Ki-jong rushed American Ambassador Mark Lippert at a breakfast function on the morning of March 5th of this year. The attack left Lippert with deep gashes on his face and arm that needed more than 80 stitches and a painful-looking arm brace. Kim was subdued on the scene, and now a Seoul court has found him guilty of attempted murder, violence against a foreign envoy, and business obstruction. He's now been sentenced to 12 years in prison. Kim seems to have had a strong will to attack the victim, choosing a knife to repeatedly slash the part of the body that had a direct connection with life, said Judge Kim Dong-ah. While the court did convict Kim Ki-jong of 3 counts, it did not convict Kim of violating the nation's national security law, which prohibits citizens from supporting or praising North Korea. Prosecutors tried to make that case, saying Kim attacked Lippert after buying into Pyongyang's assertion that the annual Seoul-Washington military exercises were a prelude to an invasion to North Korea, adding that items found in his home included books and other items that supported North Korea's strategy to communize South Korea. While some of the defendants' arguments coincide with that of the North, such as opposing the military exercises, they are ideas that have been often claimed by the academic circles and civics groups in this country, said Judge Kim, adding the claim does not pose a direct threat to the country. Despite the victory in the case, prosecutors say they will appeal the acquittal of the national security law violation. That will be a very hard case, if not an impossible one to make. Judge Kim noted, quote, Kim had been studying reunification at graduate school. Considering the huge amount of materials on the two countries' traditional cultures found at his place, Kim does not seem to have kept the pro-North Korean documents to benefit the North, end quote. And that is a key point. Seoul usually tries to use the national security law to increase prison sentences when trying to make an example of someone it deems subversive. But the courts are being more critical of its interpretation, having recently ruled that posting a message on a site like Facebook doesn't instigate rebellion, which is the line of thought Judge Kim used here. That the government still wishes to pursue that charge is telling, and shows that it still lives in a Cold War era rather than the 21st century, and believes its citizens are easily manipulated. About a year ago, I reported about the brutal double murder on Thailand's southern Koh Tao Island. According to authorities, migrant workers Zhao Lin and Wen Zhao Tun killed David Miller and then raped and murdered Hannah Withridge, both of whom were under the age of 25. Both of these men pled not guilty, despite police saying Miller was struck by a single blow and then left to drown in the shallow surf, while Withridge was being raped and then beaten to death with a garden hoe. In a case where the death penalty could result from a conviction, you'd think the police would dot their I's and cross their T's. But they haven't, leading some to believe they've bungled this case. Authorities have admitted to focusing on fingerprint identification of the 2 alleged assailants. However, the pair's defense team insisted that DNA from the actual murder weapon be tested to see if it matched Zhao Lin and Wen Zhao Tun. And it didn't. It should be noted that the pair confessed to the crime, which the defense team says was coerced, and then they later recanted that confession. Also, a witness at the trial testified to removing and washing the murder weapon after coming across it. The case is still underway and is expected to wrap up sometime in October. Thailand's Prime Minister never fails to speak his mind, which offers key insight into how he views his role as leader of the country. This past Friday, he told the public he might use an attitude adjustment detention program on anyone who speaks out against the junta. Prayut said, quote, I am not applying the law to those who are against me, but using the law against those who are wrong, Do you understand? Don't teach me, and don't give recommendations to me. If you let them blame me, the people and society will listen to them every day, and one day they'll believe in the things they say." End quote. Currently, Thailand's former energy minister and at least one other former lawmaker are being held under Prayut's attitude adjustment plan. In fact, it's the 8th such time to be held for the energy ministry for criticizing Prayut's control. Hundreds of people have been hauled away for an attitude adjustment since the coup over a year ago. When pressed on who might be detained, Prayut said, quote, "Everyone whose comments cause division, bad intent to the government, criticizing the things the government didn't do, causes trouble, and blames a government that's trying to improve the country, I will consider." End quote. Human Rights Watch said attitude adjustment for critics was intimidation aimed at silencing peaceful dissent, and that a climate of fear was intensifying. And one could make the case that that is Prayut's plan. Saturday morning, a deadly blast ripped through Petlawad in central India. The explosion claimed the lives of at least 88 individuals and injured over 100. Authorities originally thought the explosion resulted from a cooking gas cylinder in the restaurant where children and office workers were eating breakfast, but now believe it was the result of improperly stored explosive materials nearby. Police said they are looking for Rajendra Kaswa, who authorities say is on the lam. They say he stored gelatin sticks, urea, which is a common fertilizer, and other explosive materials. Apparently, Kaswa had a license for storing such materials, but the manner in which he was doing so, especially in close proximity to the restaurant, was against regulations. This is truly something sad to see and preventable, and reminds us of the deadly explosions that took place in Tianjin, China. Those are the stories for this Monday, September 14, 2015. Please take a moment and let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. The Asia Brief is a special feature of the Asia News Weekly podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with your friends, and if you haven't, subscribe. Subscribing is free, and when you do, the next episode is delivered automatically to you. You can subscribe on our website, asianewsweekly.net, or in your favorite podcast application. You can also keep up with more news from the region by following Asia News Weekly on Facebook or Twitter. And if you have any comments, questions, or feedback, be sure to drop us a line. That email address is podcast@asianewsweekly.net. Thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, remember to be true to yourself and to always be awesome.